I am Tom and just one pack, and this is AC on the short Alpha Clash podcast, where I'll talk all things Alpha Clash on my way to work. Only today I am not going to work. Oh, well, I am, but I'm working from home. So as you can hear, I am not in my car. But that doesn't mean that there won't be a podcast. Anyway, let's go into this. So today I want to talk to you about mechanics and what I consider good and bad designed mechanics. And the reason is I'm going to use two examples from the latest set, or the upcoming set for Alpha Clash, called Echoes of Eternity, because I think they are good examples of what is good and bad. Now, I come from a very particular viewpoint. I'm going to go a little bit into that. So let's dig in. Now, there are loads of new mechanics in Echoes of Eternity, and I'm just picking two of them because they illustrate this point very, very well, I think. When I'm talking about good and bad mechanics or designed mechanics, right, it doesn't mean whether they're powerful or not, because that could often be tricky, could be manipulated a little bit with other things, right? I am talking about especially the taxation on the player to use those mechanics, right? So here's an example. I think it was Richard Garfield, the creator of Magic, the original creator of Magic, right, that said that trading card games, TCGs, these strategic or tactical card games, are the mental equivalent of competitive sport, right? And I something along those lines. And I'm kind of agreeing. That doesn't mean you can't do both, but it is sort of the same thing, especially if you are competing. Even though that I am a casual player, and I'm very adamant about that, I'm a passionately casual player, it doesn't mean that I don't understand competitions or that I don't participate every now and then. It's just, I think more than anything, the game should work in a casual setting, because most games will be played in a casual setting, right? But not so. But that doesn't mean that the usefulness of a mechanic is not, or what I consider a good, well-designed mechanic, is not the same for both. Now, either way we go, whether casual or competitive, tactical games like trading card games, like Alpha Clash, is a taxation on your mental resources, right? And we've all played games, whether casually or competitive, or super hyper competitively, where we made bad decisions, forgot triggers. That is especially forgetting triggers, forgetting the sequence of things happening. We do these kind of things all the time. This is why we have judges, right? Because there is a high taxation on the player to keep all the things in our heads. Now, you can design mechanics that are hard to use in that sense, because they require a lot of mental load for them to work, right? Or you can do them where they're intuitively works. Now, I have two examples from Echoes of Eternity, the next set for Alpha Clash, that sort of illustrates this point very well. At least I think so. One is Discover and the other is Wrath. Now, let's go through them one at a time. I think Discover is a very well designed or mechanic, or very good mechanic in terms of usability from this taxation point of view. So what Discover does is that Discover is a keyword, so I'm using mechanic at a very broad term here, but Discover is a keyword that triggers whenever the card that is on is being diminished. Now, sort of a trigger diminished, right? Here's what's good about it. It's a keyword that means exactly that. Whenever you diminish it, something happens. Whatever happens is different from card to card. But the first part of it is that you are taking it from your deck, putting it in your discard pile. You are naturally looking at it whenever you do that, because you kind of want to see what you're not going to get. What are you missing out on? Or if you play something that really interacts with your Oblivion, you want to see what you can fish out of it later. So you're looking at the card. So you know that your eyes or your focus has been shifted to that card that also says diminished, so you are less likely to miss that trigger. And it's super elegant, right? There's one moving part. Does that happen? Did this one come from my hand, from playing field, or did it come from my deck? There's one moving part in that. And some of the cards, the design space right now is meant for Iron Piston, I'm guessing, but Kilimanjaro is going to have some field day with that, and I'm not sure that Death or some other Oblivion interaction pieces are not going to like them quite a lot. And they do different things, but they're very intuitively easy to learn and also to remember, right? So the mental load is diminished. See what I did there? Right. So Discover to me is a very elegant solution and has a very interesting game space opening, because it only works when you do that, right? That also means that you have a small taxation on remembering, mental taxation, remembering that it is only when it's diminished. It's not when it's put from your hand or from anywhere else as a resource, anything. It's only at diminished. That I can see whole strategies working around that as a concept, right? On the other hand, we have Wrath. Now, Wrath is an effect that follows other effects, right? I think it was Ansudak, Inferno Incarnated, something like that. It's a clash card that has a trigger enter ability that has the Wrath keyword. So already we have to remember two steps, and it is built specifically so that there can be two parts of this, like a kicker. Everything is a kicker. Like kicker in Alpha Clash, there is in Magic, there is sort of an extra course you can put on yourself to get an extra benefit. Now, having that in there is what it is. That's not the point, but the Wrath effect itself is kind of cumbersome. So let me try to see if I get this right. So what the keyword Wrath means is that whenever you hit that, you have to reveal a dragon, and there has to be a dragon from your hand that costs more than the card triggering it. Right, so I have to keep that in mind. I have to show it has to be a dragon, it has to come from your hand, and you have to show it having a cost higher than the card that triggered it. If you do that, you then have to put that card at the bottom of your deck, the one that you showed, at the bottom of your deck, and then the rest of the ability resolves. There's a lot of steps in that. And I think setting these up, just the planning of setting that up happens during gameplay. You have to spot that is a possibility, and you also have to sort of get those docs in a row. You have to see that you need the extra effect. So there are a lot of moving parts that has to be just right for this to work, right? And trying to, it's less of an issue when you're building decks, but more of an issue when you're playing. And your mental load is highest when you're playing, because when you're deck building, you have all the time in the world. But when you're playing, someone's waiting on you. You sort of want to win. You have to consider what they are about to do. The load is high there. So a complex instruction set like this, that takes like 3 lines of text, and not because they're not shortening it to the very specific clear instructions which they have, so it's not written unclear, it just takes up a lot of steps. So when I am playing, that is one of the things that loads my capacity for how much complexity I can handle to maybe being problematic. I will see, I guess, less experienced players simply drop effects like that because they're not fun. They are too taxing and they are too hard to build around and too hard to predict. So I think that could have been a lot simpler. I get that we want an effect that sort of a kicker, right? I don't mind kicker in Magic, but I get that we can sort of have a 2-step approach to that, and there needs to be something specific for dragons to make this happen. I just think this is a bit of a cumbersome way to do it. It could be reveal any dragon, then you always show something less, or it could be specific in the text, something like that. Anyway, I think Discover is an elegant solution because it is in your face when you do it, and I think Wrath is a complex solution that is more taxing than what I would consider an elegant solution. Doesn't mean it's not good. It just means that I don't think it's as elegant as Discover. Anyway, that was the point I wanted to make. I am really excited to get Echoes of Eternity. I want to build an Iron Piston deck for sure, and I really want to play with dragons, but I might not play with the Wrath effects too much. Anyway, that was it for me. I hope you enjoy your day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.